somebody gave me this. It's on my desk here, and I'm sure it has something to do with the stock market. Can you see that, Eric?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Bull.
it's a bull. Yeah. Well, I keep that on my desk to remind me that people want no bull.
Yep. No.
And so when we do these webinars, these are bull-free webinars.
Yeah, there you go. Bull free webinar.
You're
That's
right.
that would be a great marketing webinar too.
Well, this is an important one, folks, because you know, in any business, including ours, there is a failure rate. There are people who fail at every business that's out there. In fact, there are franchises. You know, Eric, I just passed the other day by a McDonald's that had closed. Now, how does a McDonald's go out of business? You got to really manage that really terribly. But I have seen franchises. If some of you on here remember, there were a lot of different franchises that have just shut down and gone away. That's because people were just not, well, they were doing things wrong. And we're going to tell you today some of the things that you should not be doing, and they'll guarantee that you don't fail in this business or any other.
Well, you know, Patrick, obviously you hit on a great thing, because I've noticed here in our community where we live, there's a little restaurant that in the last year and a half has had 4 restaurants in it. So, you know, there's one good thing about what you learn out of that. Number one is that people are tenacious. They want to work for themselves.
Right.
Secondly, not all businesses all work. I mean, whether you're, like you said, opening up a hamburger shop or a sandwich shop, or you go look at all the other franchises that are out there, there is a failure rate with every single business. And whether someone's buying into a franchise or a business opportunity, think of all the other small businesses that start and fail even without being a part of a franchise or a business opportunity.
Well, and that holds true with the return on people's investment too. I had a friend that started a Subway sandwich shop, and he didn't see a return on his investment, Eric, for 3 years.
Right.
Now, some businesses go out of business. If you stay in business even 2 years, you're doing terrific. And
Correct.
so we have licensees, as you know, that I've interviewed on these webinars that have said right on the webinar, they volunteered that they returned their investment in our business within 6 months.
Right.
So it's just a fantastic business. And folks, if this is your first time on one of our webinars, thank you for being on here. I see a lot of names, by the way, on here that did not want to put anything in the question box, but we know who you are anyway, right? So I see your names up there, and I just want to welcome each and every one of you today, because this is an important factor that you got to consider if you're thinking about starting not just this business, but any business. How can I keep from failing? So, Eric,
well, let's do this real quickly. Before we get started on any other thing, again, let's remind everybody over the question box area, you can type your question today. And what happens is, folks, is that about halfway through the webinar, we start getting inundated with questions. So if you want your question answered, start typing it in now, and we'll do as many as we can get through the webinar. So
we read those, by the way, as they come in. So
we do.
The faster you type your question in, the faster you'll get the answer. And again, if we don't get to all the questions towards the end of the webinar, these are passed on to our business coaches here, as Eric was telling you earlier, people who invited you to the webinar, and they'll get back with you with your answers to all those questions for sure.
You bet. Patrick, what we found here are 17 startup mistakes every entrepreneur should avoid, okay? And so what we did, we selected a few of these folks, and these are real people. We've got their names. Like I said, we've got the handout over in your handout area, so you can go download these, go look at these people, go look at their quotes. But Patrick, I figured that the first thing that people do wrong, and they find themselves in failure, is that many times they start their business and they try to do it alone. You want to talk? You want to read here what Ann has to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, basically what she's saying is that a better, smarter way to work is if you've vocalized your problem or idea to someone else. Having an extra set of eyes or ears on things is invaluable. And folks, that's what's great about ABS. We've been around doing this for 25 years. We have a huge nationwide network of licensees who are successful in this business that can be a support for you. In fact, in the training, the live training that we do here in Dallas, we tell people, be sure to meet everybody here, because these can be your support network starting today. And so that's important for you to know, that we're going to be here for a long time. Eric, you got a great slide here on how important is lifetime support. You know, we didn't used to give lifetime support with our one-time licensing fee. There was an annual renewal of about $600 or $700 a year for support after the first year or two. I think we extended it to 2 years. And then at some point I said, you know what? Why wouldn't we just support people from now on, as long as they're doing our business, we're making money on the back end as well. Yeah. And so why wouldn't we support them? So we do in these 3 areas.
Well, and the reason we showed this is that this is actually a clip from one of our previous webinars that we have done on lifetime support. Yeah. And kind of going back to what Ann was saying there is, don't do this alone. Folks, we're here to support you in your marketing. We're here to help you with your billing. And we're here as this, what's called an ABS network. Patrick, you want to talk about why it's important to be a part of the largest network of medical billers in the United States?
Yeah, that's important, folks, because it establishes you as having credibility. In other words, you are opening a brand new office in your area that's a part of our network. So you can tie in with that and make it seem like you're part of, well, and you are. It's just like opening a Century 21 office. You know, you may never have sold a house in your entire life, but if you're a part of Century 21, I'm pretty sure that you know how to get the help that you need from Century 21. That's the way you position yourself with doctors, even though you start out fresh and you have no clients in that area. You can say that we are the nation's largest network of medical billers. We basically do thousands of claims every day for hundreds of doctors from coast to coast, and we've brought in millions of dollars in money that they would have not seen otherwise. So that's how to position yourself.
Don's the first one to ask a question. So Don, congratulations this afternoon. Thank you for doing that. He's asking, Patrick, is this a lifetime coaching support?
Yes, and we're going to get to a slide that talks about coaching specifically a little bit later, Don. But to answer your question, yes, our fee, our licensing fee, which is about $27,000, I think it's $26,990. We come up with that because it's kind of like, you know, Kmart. You always buy something that's $6.97, not $7. So anyway, the point is, for that amount of money, we just feel like you don't need to be nickel and dimed with additional fees, additional support fees, user fees, upgrade fees. None of that is, a part of what we do. We say, once you've given us, your license fee, you have all of our support, including the coaching, which we'll get into that a little bit deeper a little bit later. Yeah.
Well, another reason you don't want to go it alone is because you don't want to look at trying to reinvent the wheel. And Patrick, I know that, people try to even take our information, even after they leave the live training workshop, and even try to change it out a little bit.
Every time we'll have somebody, even in the class, bring up something about marketing, for example, that in the past they've done this or this or this. And in the particular industry that they're in, it might have worked, but that doesn't mean it works in ours. Folks, we've gone through dozens of different ways to market to doctors and thrown out as many as we teach.
Right.
Now, we constantly revise this to the current day. In other words, what's happening in the marketplace out there right now in, May of 2019. And that's why it's always current and up to date when we do our training classes.
You bet. And folks, we always have everything that you're going to need for every plan of action that you're going to have. And again, if you haven't seen all of the different services that we have, which is EMR and Quick Collect, or iClaim or ChoicePay, these services are all taught in our live training workshop. Patrick, I know that we just ended one last week. We're getting ready to do this one up here in June. And the class that just left was so excited to get out there and start getting their marketing done this week.
Yeah, it's amazing, Eric. People wonder how in the world and what do you cover in 5 days, which is basically a good 6 or 7 hours a day of training. Well, one of the things we do cover is exactly what you need to do to go out and get clients. In fact, it's about a day and a half of our training, Eric, because that's how important it is that the secrets that we've learned over the last 25 years as to how to market to doctors. It's completely different from how you think it is. Believe me, there are ways to connect with people in your area that are already in contact with doctors and can connect you with those doctors. So that's why that training class done live is so important. You just can't get that over any other way.
Right. And then there's other support, which is ongoing training. Not only do you have the training there, the live training workshop, but that doesn't stop there. There's more information that's going into what's called our licensee support site, but it doesn't even stop there. We're actually doing other webinars like we're doing today on Fridays, very specifically for our licensees, and that's all found on the licensee support site.
And yes, and Don, there's no extra charge for those webinars. No, again, we have a one-time lifetime fee that covers everything. So Eric, by the way, on the right-hand side of that screenshot, you notice it goes down to, I think, 2017.
Yeah.
The next slide, we show how far down it really does go. Folks, we started this website here for licensees in October of 2014. You see that? So look at that. We have posted dozens of items every month since 2014. That means there are literally, Eric, more hours of training right here on our licensee website than there is in the live training workshop. So when we tell you it's a good 40 hours of training down here, there's a whole lot more than that, of course, out there on our licensing website, which you can just do at your leisure. In fact, we took some screenshots of some of those. Look, here's some of them right here: how to post patient stuff and how to prepare marketing jumpstart. I mean, just look at some of the topics here, folks. And go ahead, Eric. There's 5 or 6 more of these screenshots. I just wanted to show you that you can see some of them were posted like 6 days ago. The first one on this screen is 7 months ago. And if you keep going down, you'll see there's a bunch of them that were a year ago, of course. This is just kind of where our video kind of summarizes, and it goes on and on and on. Folks, we've been having these webinars since 2014 at least, and so there are dozens and dozens and dozens. This is the type of ongoing training that you get from ABS you won't get from anybody else. Their support,
I'm still clicking through
them. Yeah, some companies that do this kind of training, Eric, they literally give you 1 year support, and then that's it. You don't have any ongoing support or training, and that's why I put all these up here. I wanted people to see that there's lots of stuff, and I didn't go through all of them. That was just down up to 2 years ago, I think. Yeah. So.
Before we go on here, I got another question here from Peter. Peter's asking, do you connect new people with doctors, or do they have to go out there and find their doctors themselves?
All right, Peter, that's a great question. Let me answer it this way. If I had doctors, or a list of doctors, let's say, that said that they were interested in outsourcing their billing, our license fee would be a whole lot more than $27,000, trust me. And besides, why couldn't we as a company just sign those doctors up if we had them already? So the answer is pretty straightforward, and that is, we don't give you a fish, we teach you how to fish. We're going to teach you how to always get all the clients you want through the marketing techniques that we've developed. We teach about a dozen in that live training class. And Eric, we just came out with a new marketing piece here that I'll talk about here in just a second.
You bet.
Is a preview right here. That's a preview of it right there.
I love the sneak previews. Folks, the other thing, Peter, that you can trust us on is that we're going to give you live demonstrations. We're the only company that will actually provide live demonstrations for you and for your doctor for, again, no additional fees as you're doing your marketing. So as you're going out and doing the marketing, and you finally get a doctor that says, hey, let me sit and see what you've got here, we're doing those demonstrations for you, again, at no additional fee.
I can't emphasize, Eric, that this part of what we do alone is worth way more than $27,000. Folks, there are franchises that do not do what we do for our licensees. Now, the reason we do it, of course, is behind the scenes, we are making money as the doctors are accessing our system. They're paying a fee each month to access it. So we're making money. As long as we're making money, we're going to continue wanting you to get even more clients. So think about it this way. Even though this is a live one today that you're watching, we do these live for the doctors one-on-one. I mean, there's a whole group of people here that are here. I think we had 60 people sign up today, Eric, on this webinar. But in the live demos that we do for your prospective doctors, it's one-on-one with that doctor. Now, you can be on there as well, just like Eric and I are both on here. The doctor can be on there along with our staff person who's doing the demo, answering all the questions that the doctor has. This alone is worth a lot of money, Eric.
That's right. And this kind of goes along with Brad's question here. Does the company, ABS, provide any marketing tools for franchisees? And this is one of those tools. It's more than just getting pieces of paper that are marketing presentation. We're actually involved with you in getting this information directly to the doctor. So, Brad, hopefully that answers your question there. Yes, we are providing.
We cover some more techniques here just a little bit later too. So you'll see we do provide a lot of tools. This is just one of them. Here's some of them right here.
Here's some more. I mean, this is, and I think that little book that you were showing, the 10 critical questions physicians in private practice, there it is. Tell us about that, because that's brand new. What's going on with that book?
Well, look, we're constantly developing new tools. Our previous book, written with Dr. Vicki Ragnar and me, this is a book that you can use. And look at the bottom of the book. You'll be able to put your name right there on the front cover of the book, having written the foreword. And so it's a personalized book is basically what it is, as a marketing tool for you. It tells about Dr. Vicki Ragnar on the back and myself here, but you'll be able to use that. Now, that was put out actually, Eric, I think about 2 years ago. Now we have another tool that we just developed for licensees that's a little thin. It's kind of like a booklet almost, but for a marketing tool, this is going to be terrific. Look, you'll be able to put your contact information right there on the back cover, right underneath Dr. Vicki Ragnar's blurb. Folks, here's what that does. That builds huge credibility for you. You're now connected with a doctor who is partnering with you to reach out to the doctors in your area. No other company has that.
Yeah, and so folks, when you put these tools together with what you learn at our live training workshop, this is going to help prevent you from failing. And that's why if everybody kind of go back in your mind and go back to remember that little the picture we had there of a kind of a drowning business guy and reaching out, and that's why ABS is right there, because we have all of these tools and solutions for you. Peter says, answering his questions earlier, he says, got it. Thank you so much for answering that question. So thank you, Peter, for replying to that. And so let's move on, Patrick, to the second thing that will make people fail, and that's from Nicole. She says, don't forget about due diligence. Let's you kind of read through this one, and we'll start discussing this one, because this is another one of those 17 mistakes every entrepreneur should avoid.
Well, this is probably the biggest one right here, Eric. She says the biggest mistake an entrepreneur can make is starting a business without actually seeing if there is a market for their concept, and if that concept is sustainable, or if it's just a passing fad. You know, if you're selling pet rocks, that's going to be here today and gone tomorrow. Some of you are too young to know what I'm talking about, but that wasn't a real business somebody started. Yeah. And it made them a lot of money for about 6 months, and then it was gone. She says by doing some preliminary due diligence into the market of their business idea, they could save their life savings and all their important time. So folks, no matter what business you're looking at right now, and I know lots of them out there on the internet, make sure you do your due diligence. We're going to share some things right here with you that you should be checking into to make sure that it's a real business. I say real, meaning it's not just some like one of those internet businesses that you get emails about all the time.
Right. Well, let's answer Paul's question before we even step out over here. Paul's asking, how do you know if you're not entering a geographical territory that is already populated with other franchisees? That's a good due diligence question.
Yes, Paul, a great question. You know what? Here's the answer to that. It's real simple. The person that you're talking with about getting into this business, we call them your business coach, remember, right here at ABS. They sent you the email to get you to come to this webinar. That person wants to reach out to you and share that information with you. We would not even put you into this business if your territory was so saturated with our licensees that there was no business left. Now, let me give you an example, though, just so you can wrap your head around how big this market is. Right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there's probably, I don't know, Eric, 3.5, 4 million people at least. Yep. There are over 30,000 medical providers right here in this area. And even though we have a handful of licensees right here in this area, none of them have ever run across one another because there's just too many doctors out there. Look, there's real estate offices opening every day in this area. Does that mean they're stepping on one another? No, it means that the market's so big there's plenty of room for others.
You
Same
bet.
with the sandwich shop side. There's a Subway on every other block at least, but there's plenty of people who eat sandwiches.
Absolutely. Well, and again, to talk about doing due diligence, one of the things that we've got testimonials of doctors. We deal with Dr. Vicki Rackner. I think you're going to show a little video here that I think you'd like everybody to see. But as you're kind of getting that set up, folks, we've done a lot of due diligence for you. And Patrick, when you're ready, why don't you go ahead and show that video there?
Yeah, so folks, what you're about to see is one of the marketing tools that we give to you. Brad and Don and Paul and the others who've asked about that already. This is one of the marketing tools we have, and that is real doctors who are using our system and what they say about outsourcing their billing to one of our licensees. So here it comes. I'm starting it right now. Here it
goes. On a day-to-day basis, practicing, I have a ton of paperwork. I have charts that have office notes from patients I see. I have follow-up lab reports, test reports. So a lot of time is spent not only seeing patients, but doing the paperwork that goes along with that. So probably for every hour I see patients, I'm spending at least 30 minutes worth of paperwork.
The complications of trying to do your own billing are greater than anything we do in medicine. It seems like with over 30 different insurance companies that we probably bill from, not even including our uninsured patients, there's absolutely no way. You don't have a chance.
And then when you
I paused that, Eric, because I know people think we made up his name, Johnny Walker. I think that's some kind of liquor, isn't it? Whiskey or something.
I believe so.
The point is, these are real doctors, folks, and they are saying basically that the paperwork is overwhelming, that they don't even have a chance of keeping up with all that without outsourcing it. That's where you come in. That's why this is a needed business that's out there in the marketplace. All right, let's listen.
Hands.
And then when you submit a claim, it has to be a clean claim for them to even consider it. And you have to do it within 90 days. Doing my own billing was horribly tedious and very time consuming.
To combat the problem, many medical practices and healthcare facilities are seeking help by outsourcing medical billing.
When medical providers outsource their billing, it makes them and their staff, of course, more efficient. It frees up their time so they can spend more quality time with their patients. And of course, it increases their cash flow, which is what it's all about. And for the patients, of course, the patients are getting to spend more quality time with the doctor and the staff, because the doctor and the staff are not having to spend all that time filing the insurance claims and doing the paperwork.
That guy is very credible that you just saw right there, Eric. That is an expert in this field. In fact, they said I was the author of a book, Cash Crunch to Cash Flow. That was a book that I wrote a few years back. We still give that out to our licensees, and they could use that in their marketing as well. But just to show you that we know what we're talking about, folks. Now, these are such great quotes here, Eric. I want to just play another one or two, and then we'll
work up front.
We have, as physicians, so many things to worry about. We have to be good business people. We have to be good patient advocates. We have so much on our plate. I go home and I do not worry about this, the most important aspect of our lives. We can't be good physicians unless we're financially solvent. At this day and age, with the complexities of the insurance companies, I can't imagine doing it any other way at this point.
The process for the Medicare billing is, with the electronic claims, is very difficult unless you outsource, because to do that in your office takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money to buy the software to do the electronic claims. So you pretty much have to outsource to save yourself money, basically.
From a billing standpoint, I have outsourced my billing. This allows me to not have to provide the overhead of an individual that I would have to pay to do my coding, do my billing, make sure that we're compliant with all of the regulations from Medicare and the other health insurance companies.
We've all been in this business for a while.
Okay, Eric, I'm going to stop that for now because basically, folks, that's only about half of this entire video. So they're great ways for you to connect with the doctors by showing them. If they want to hear from other doctors, we happen to have some testimonials right there. Eric, I think I just gave that Back to you.
I got it. I got it. And so, when, kind of asking the question that some people are already asking, really, is there a market for this? And, when you're looking at any due diligence, you want to make sure that there's a market for it. Now, the reason we like to put this pie chart up here because it deals with the three major billing components that are out there: hospital billing, physician billing, and dental billing. And Patrick, I'd like for us to take a little bit of moment here to kind of talk about the three and the one that we focus our attention on.
Yeah, as you can see, folks, hospital billing is big, but the reason we don't focus on that is because it would be much, much harder for you to enroll a hospital to do their billing than it would be a private doctor. Does that make sense? There's lots of committees and red tape. And besides, they've already spent probably millions of dollars on their software over the years, and they already have a staff of probably several dozen people that are handling it. So not that it's not a market, you can go after that. And yes, we have the ability to provide software for hospital billing, but that's not what we're doing here, folks. We're zeroing you in on those physicians and basically the clinical type billing that's out there. It's still a huge market, 614 billion, folks. All you need is a little piece of that, and you should be very successful.
You bet. Marvin, you asked a question about the sales reps and how would we structure their commission. Now, we actually go into that in a lot of detail in our live training workshop. However, again, if you want to know a little bit more about that, get back with your business coach. They'll be able to go in a little bit more detail with you than what we can go over on the webinar today. Brad's asking, how updated and competitive is the billing software within this franchise package? And I think, Patrick, we can clearly say that it's up to date every single day because it's a web-based platform.
Yes, Brad, this does not come on a CD. Like some of our other companies in this marketplace, they'll sell you an old software they wrote back in 1994. Literally, it goes onto your hard drive, you install it, and then of course you have to update it on a regular basis to keep it up to date. With ours, since it's cloud-based, we literally give you a login to go to our website where the software is hosted, and then you are logging in and working from anywhere in the world that has an internet connection. So every time you log in, we may have updated it the night before. So you're always using the current medical, that's why we say we're blowing out the competition in the medical technology. Wait till you see a demo of it yourself. We mentioned earlier we do demos for your prospects. You can ask the person who sent you to this webinar to give you a one-on-one individualized walkthrough of our software so you can see it for yourself and ask all your questions.
I want to get back to, I wanted to get to Brad's question because I think it's, again, very valid during this whole due diligence process because you're asking the right questions, folks. But kind of getting back, is there a market for it? Patrick, I don't know if you've got your hands and can easily get to this particular book, but this was released by the Entrepreneur Magazine. Everybody knows who Entrepreneur Magazine is, and they actually produced a book that you could go out there and start your own medical claims billing service. There is a step-by-step guide, and we actually recommend the book for you. And because while Patrick's getting that book, let me kind of just read this quote here. It does say that the market for medical claim billers is growing exponentially with legions of providers and an ever-expanding patient pool. Healthcare industry spending is expected to grow by 5.5% each year through 2024. Now, folks, that is still 5 years away of what you're seeing of the growth there. And then, Patrick, did you get to find that?
Yeah.
Yep, there it is.
And folks, this is published by Entrepreneur Magazine, which, as he mentioned, they've been around for 30 years. Very solid. They have a series of books on how to start different businesses, and this is on this business, medical claims billing service. Now, we teach you to do a lot more than just do the medical billing for a doctor. We teach you to handle their entire revenue cycle, but that is a part of what we do. And there's the quote right out of it: 5.8% each year for the next, like you said, 5 years.
Yeah. And if that's not good enough for you, there's another research group out there called Black Book Research, and this is one of their quotes: outsourcing medical billing is expected to report an overall 42% growth rate in a revenue cycle management market worth $80.56 billion by 2021. So, folks, these articles that we put up here are very valid for you to understand. But then the reason why outsourcing is getting more popular, even with doctors that have even gone into what you would call corporate medicine, which is they're employees of hospitals that are looking to get out of that and going back into independent medical practices, they are still faced with 24 cents out of every dollar is wasted on administrative and billing expenses. This is, Patrick, somewhat why keeps some doctors in the corporate world, but because they don't know how to bridge that to get it down to the 6, 7, 8% part of every dollar on administrative and billing expenses.
Yeah, and you as a licensee of ABS, you'll be able to charge that doctor a percentage of what you collect for that doctor, but it's sure not 24%. Eric, it's the highest I've heard is about 9%. 6 to 9% is about the average, right? It's out there, depending on the type of doctor and their volume and so forth. And we can help you with that. That's part of what our support is all about, folks, on the back end. We're going to guide you through what you should be charging a particular doctor to not leave money on the table, but at the same time to make sure you get the account.
And talking about blowing out the competition, and Patrick, you already brought that out, that there are some businesses that are out there that are still using server-based software. And folks, when you're dealing with server-based software, you cannot get the connections of what we're talking about right here. So anybody that has any understanding about IT, or you've switched, you're using a smartphone today, whether it's an Android type of phone or some type of iPhone, nobody's using a rotary dial phone anymore. That's the comparison of a server-based system versus a web-based system. And with the connectivity that we have, including our own clearinghouse that's built inside the software, folks, this is how you can separate yourself from everybody that's out there. You talk about being able to know, you can go to the doctor and tell that doctor, look, I can get anywhere from 98 to 99% of your money within 5 to 7 or 10 days. That's going to get the doctor's attention there pretty quickly, because they're going to ask you, how in the world can you do that?
Yeah, because their current staff, if they're doing the billing in-house, is probably only collecting about maybe 60 to 70% of the money that's due to the doctor. If you can get 98% of the money, think about what the difference that could be to a doctor each year, additional revenue for that doctor. And that's because the clearinghouse is not a third-party entity that you would have to set up with through any other software that we know out there or any other company. Ours is built in. We are the clearinghouse. We were a clearinghouse before we developed the software for you to do the billing for doctors. So that's why we can get that rejection rate down to less than 2%.
You bet. Brad's asking another question. Does the franchise fee, Patrick, have to be paid in full upfront prior to getting started with ABS?
Yes, Brad, we don't have any type of financing. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not some help that's out there. And again, your business coach that you're working with ABS can actually guide you to some places that might be able to help you get that money put together. We do take credit cards, and Eric, we've had people be pretty creative on that and put it on 2 or 3 credit cards because return on the investment could be so short on this.
Absolutely.
One guy got a brand new card that didn't have any interest for a year, so that was pretty smart of him. He paid it off within a year, didn't pay any interest at all for that loan. So loan yourself the money,
There you go. Use somebody else's money. You may have some stashed in your 401k or some savings, or you want to kind of balance that out between the two. You can find low to no interest cards out there that can go for a year, and then if you learn how to kind of play that game there, if you need to go a little bit further, you can always find another one in a year from now and get another low or no interest rate card to switch that out. So there are some very creative ways in which you can finance this. Henry is asking, we will probably get our name on one copy of each of the books. Can we pay to get additional ones also with our name on it? Patrick, you want to answer that real quickly and how that works?
Henry, you get 25 copies of these books included in the license fee with your name printed on the back and your contact information right here. Or in the case of this book, your name is on the front cover right here, and your contact information is in there at the end of the forward. So you actually have your contact information right there inside the book. It's a great marketing tool. And by the way, to reorder these, now imagine this book is on Amazon right now for $24.95. You get it with your name printed on the front cover for $4 a copy. That's our actual printing cost, Eric. We lose a few pennies on each one of these by the time we add in shipping. But it's $4. That's it, $4 a copy. But again, it helps you get clients, and the more clients you get, the more money we make as well. So again, it's a win-win situation.
Wow, this is turned into a great webinar, folks, and I hope that you're hanging in there. We're down to our third one that we're going to be talking about today out of the 17 startup mistakes. Now, we're not going through all 17. We just grabbed the biggest 3 that we could find. But here's something from Joanne Marks. She says the biggest mistake an entrepreneur can make, and most do, is to believe that just because they are an expert at what they do, they have what it takes to run their own business. Patrick.
Yeah, let me give you an example of that. I had a friend who was a great painter. Literally, he could paint a house, a room in 15 minutes, and it's perfect. Now, that doesn't mean, though, that he knows how to run a business. You may know how to make sandwiches. It doesn't mean you're going to be successful running a Subway sandwich shop. That's because you have to have the support. You have to have the support of the people who do know what they're doing, and that's us. We do know.
And this is kind of going right along with, I think a lot of people, Patrick, will want to think, well, gosh, I kind of know how to go out there and do some marketing. I've got some potential leads, and then I think I'll come to the training workshop after I think I've got somebody. Folks, that would be great if we could teach you to market, go out there and get a client, and then show up. But a lot of times what we find out is that you end up burning those leads because, number one, you haven't learned what you need to know. You could go out there and market to doctors, and all of a sudden the doctor says, okay, how do you handle all of my CPT codes, or how do you handle an ERA? And all of a sudden you're going to stand there and go, oh my gosh, I wish I'd have gone to class. That's why you got to make sure that, as Patrick said, be supported by the folks that have been in this for, like right now, 25 years here.
And one mistake people make, Eric, is they'll talk to their own personal doctor, again, before they come and get all the answers from us. And so it makes them look kind of naive and silly because they can't answer the questions that the doctor has. Or maybe the doctor had a bad experience with some other outsourcing company, and so they're going to look bad because they can't tell the differences between what we do and what other people do out there.
You're right. Yeah. So Kier, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, and but you mentioned here, based upon our prior webinars that we've had, you've mentioned that there are 12 marketing strategies that work with your system. And based on our experience with current licensees, how much cold calling and door-to-door marketing will have to get done to get your first client? Patrick?
Oh, that's a great one, Eric. We get that question a lot, don't we? Because people are scared to death that they're going to have to go out and just knock doors or pick up the phone and cold call doctors. Folks, that's not how this is marketed. I mentioned earlier that there's been people come through our training. They've had some background in marketing, and so they think they know how to market this service to doctors, but it's not the same as selling rubber gloves or cotton balls. This is completely different. And so the answer to your question is, Kier, you don't have to make one cold call. We can show you methods to go out and get doctors signed up that you have done no cold calling whatsoever. So don't worry about that. Now, that doesn't mean that we haven't had licensees that have gone out to one of those big, you've seen those buildings, Eric, that's just big, tall buildings. All it is medical offices. They just started top office, they go in, they leave some literature, some educational materials that we have with the front office, and take a business card. That's all the contact that you need to make, because they don't have time. They just don't have time to talk to you about medical billing during the daytime. So we'll teach you how to build up your database and do the follow-up you need to get appointments with doctors.
One thing that probably anybody right today, if we were to teach at least one thing, we know that, Patrick, if we teach you to go in there and say, hey, I'm the new medical billing company in town, you already know what the answer is going to be. They don't want to hear from you. However, I'll give you a little secret, that if you were to walk into a doctor's office and ask to speak to their HIPAA compliance officer, you might just get a quick audience with the office manager.
Yeah, because they don't have a compliance officer.
They're going to want to know why you're there. But again, you're trying to educate them. And that's one of the tools in which we talk about, because at that point, then all you're doing at that point is getting with us, setting up a demonstration of how we can help them with their HIPAA compliances. And now you've become a trusted, valued vendor for them, which now opens up the door for so much more than what you can do.
Absolutely. Hey, Eric, this is, we must have struck a chord here. We got a lot of good questions coming in here. I mean, really engaged. This crowd is engaged. So Stacy, let me answer yours. How's the compliance aspect of this business addressed?
Oh,
I
good.
think Stacy's talking about, of course, the compliance with HIPAA, the HIPAA rules and regulations for the patient privacy, for example. All of that's been already pre-certified and approved. Our system is HIPAA compliant. That means that it has been approved by HIPAA, by Medicare, that it does conform to all the HIPAA rules and regulations. Now, there's other compliancy, of course, that you have to be compliant with as well, but we have all that covered through some of our other training and services that we have. I think the marketing flyers that you just showed, Eric, has some compliancy guard information on it. So ask your business coach, again, about that in specific, Stacy, if you have something specific you want to ask about that.
Here, I think I've got one right here, Patrick. Let me see if I can pull one out here. And that is what Patrick is talking about there is this what's called compliancy guard. And this is one of the flyers that Patrick is talking about there that you would be able to send out, and just imagine just going to an office and handing somebody, say, hey, who's your compliancy officer? Let me just hand you some information. I think we might be able to help you with your HIPAA compliancy audits or anything else that you've got going on. So there's a lot there that we can certainly help you with.
I'm sure it's getting warm here for some reason, Eric, in Texas. We had some rain last night, so it was cool when I started, but I don't need this coat.
Yep. Folks, we're going to kind of just show you real quickly all of the different things that you're getting from us here at ABS when you become a licensee, all of the contracts, the proposals, the training, again, the live demonstrations. This is all part of the marketing campaign that we help you out with. There is that compliancy guard flyer that's just right there, all the professional tools that we have for you. So folks, and if you want to go do a trade show, we've got a huge trade show booth that can help you out with. And Patrick, we mentioned something about coaching. Someone asked about coaching earlier. Why don't you talk about that? And then what we'll do for the rest of the time is answer some of these questions that have come in.
Good. You know, these are some of our current licensees, Eric, that we've engaged with. And of course, we pay them for their time to coach other new licensees. So folks, you don't just get some guy sitting behind a desk. I mean, we've got support people in our office, but you want to talk to somebody who's actually out there doing this business. So we engage with licensees who work with other new licensees to get them up to speed. Folks, this shows you that these folks they're not afraid of competition. They don't consider you competition because there's too many doctors out there that need help. So the more we can help, the better. And maybe you get to the point where you're running your business, you're successful already, you've proven to us that you know what you're doing, and we'll engage with you to do some coaching for us as well. So your future with ABS could be much, much bigger than just being a licensee.
Absolutely. And then part of that, Patrick, I know that, again, we mentioned that one of the things we're going to teach everybody is the medical terminology, which is going to lead you to do right when you get out of that training workshop of what questions to ask. This is very important. So folks, if you just give us a little bit of the rest of your time right here, and we're going to get to your questions, we promise you. But I think as we kind of close out this webinar, Patrick, I think this is a good thing for people to kind of walk away from, of going, gosh, if I can just go through this questionnaire with a doctor, and then how this is produced, how that kind of leads me to help where ABS is going to help close to get that client.
Well, first of all, we know that it's important that you realize that the doctor may or may not need your help. Now, right. We've come up with I think it's 3 or 4 pages now, Eric, what we call a practice analysis questionnaire that you see there on the screen. And we're going to give you exact questions to ask the office manager before you engage with the doctor. You see, we have a step-by-step system. And the system is get all the information you can about what they're currently doing and then you'll know how to come back and show them what you can or can't do for them. One of those includes this practice revenue report here. Again, this is just an example from one of our licensees, but folks, we're going to show the doctor how we can bring to their bottom line, just like you just glanced at the bottom line of this. The doctor looks down there and goes, you're saying you could increase my revenue by $321,000 next year? Yes. From this example right here, Eric, and it's not an unusual example, they had an 18% rejection rate is all they had, and we basically took it down to 2%, which means we'll bring another $26,000 a month to that doctor's bottom line. That's how you get their attention, folks. See, there's no selling. Can you sell popsicles in the Sahara Desert? That'd be pretty simple, wouldn't it? Well, that's how easy it is to sell, if you want to use that term, your services to a doctor. You're selling money is what you're selling. That's pretty easy to sell.
You bet. Here's a great question that's kind of lead us into support things here, Patrick. And Kayer is asking, who manages the software for the iClaim software?
Well, actually, that's done by us. Our technology partners behind the scenes update that software on a regular basis. And since it's cloud-based, you can give access to the front office because we have a scheduler built in that they can have access to and reports that they might want to get for themselves. So you give them access to certain parts of our system by just giving them a login. They literally can go to McDonald's on their laptop and log in and see our system, Eric. It's nothing to manage on our software, folks, because it's cloud-based. Anywhere you can go that you can get on an internet browser and log into our system, you can get into our system and always be using the most current up-to-date. There's no downloads, no new codes that you have to download and install like some of our competitors. This is all done through the cloud and managed by us, folks, and our technology partners.
Okay, I think, Patrick, we're getting down to the close part, to the end of this, and before you got to leave, I thought I'd put this up here and let you talk about the 100% money back guarantee, because some people are wondering when does this go into effect? Does it go into effect after I leave training? Talk about this, why you did it, the reasons for why you did it, and just kind of give some information on this, and we'll go through and answer some more questions here.
I did it because this is how I would want to deal with a company. Look, folks, this is a lot of money, we know, to invest in anything. But especially a franchise or a business opportunity over the internet, that could be risky. You do not know that company and their products and what they're like until you've sent your money to them. And if you don't have a way to get that money back, it's a done deal. Think about that carefully before you send any company money. Ours works like this. You have to send the money to us first. You have to do the paperwork and come to our training workshop. That's all we ask. Come to the training, sit through the workshop, and for any reason or no reason at all, just if you don't think this business is right for you at the end of that week, tell any of our staff members and we'll arrange for you to receive a full refund of that $26,990. Now, you've put out money, of course, to get here. Maybe you have some points or miles on your airplane tickets, but you're going to stay at a hotel here that we do the training in. It's a Marriott Suites hotel. It's about $700 for the entire 5 days. But folks, that's very little money to invest, wouldn't you say, to find out if something is for real and be able to get your money back. And yes, we have given some people their money back over the years. Literally, Eric, I can count on one hand, the refunds that we've given. But we came up with this a few years back because that's the way I would want to do business with a company. I wouldn't want to invest in it unless I knew I could get my money back. If it turned out to be just, a hoax, a spam, a scam, or something that was not what I thought it was.